Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this is our first one in 2 weeks. It's been a full 2 weeks. So hopefully we didn't forget how to do tech and you guys can see us and hear us. Please let us know if you can. And then for those of you who are new here, just tuning in, today we are going to talk about something that at least I've seen all over LinkedIn with Microsoft and all that. We're going to talk about bouncing back, maybe bouncing off after a layoff without having to take a step back in your career. And for those of you who don't know us, my name is Katie. I'm a coach at Career Sprout, and this is the founder of Career Sprout, who I affectionately call G-Val.
Thank you. As Katie mentioned, welcome. If this is your guys' first time here, something we normally do, again, we've been gone for, I think, 2-3 weeks. I don't even remember. But we go live every single Wednesday here on LinkedIn to talk about all things related to the job search. So again, if this is your first time here, welcome. And we can kick it off. How do you want to start, K-Mac?
Well, I think we should start with a joke. Now, I admittedly don't have a backup joke today. I could quickly search for one, but I do have one that hopefully there's like some Star Wars nerds in the group and I get some laughs. Maya, I don't know if you're a Star Wars nerd, so if you are, you can be our judge, but if you're not, simmer down over there. All right. The joke of the day. What did Yoda say when he saw himself in 4K?
What did Yoda say when he saw himself in 4K?
Yes.
I don't know what.
HDMI.
That's good.
Is that a good one?
That's a great. I myself am a Star Wars nerd, so that hits.
Oh, look at this. Funny must you be. I am funny.
HDMI, that's good.
Yes, we are recording this. This link that you're using, and guys, this is actually true every week. The link that you are using to watch this right now is also the link that you can use to watch the replay of this. And if you want to see any of our previous replays, you just go over. I'm just going to share my screen real quick right now because we usually get about 15 of these questions each time. And so if you want to catch any of the replays or any past events, just go to Gaurav's profile here, go to events, and then you can show all events. So this is literally every event that we've done back all the way through when it used to just be me and G live and nobody actually ever saw them. So you can see how the OG days even as well.
The good old days when my mom would join us and it'd be 3 live, me, K-Mac, and my mom.
Yeah. And I just pasted the link too in the comments for all of the replays as well. So you guys can catch that. Look at that. We even have somebody stealing it. That's how you know it's
that's good.
one.
That is when you know it's good.
Okay.
So who taught you that?
Google.
Yeah.
All
right. So for those people still trickling in again and who just joined, today we're talking about how are we going to bounce back after a layoff without taking a step back in your career? And we've been kind of prepping for this a lot. And what we realized is there is so much to cover. And so one of the things we decided to do, so in today's, we're going to give you the entire strategy, but we thought at least potentially breaking it into 2 parts and then covering one half of the strategy today and then the next half next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. But if it requires even more than that, we can do a part 3 and a part 4 and make sure that we give you guys as much as you need to help you bounce back quickly, but strategically, and then land something that you're actually happy with, proud of, and it moves you forward in your career. And for reference, none of the things that we're telling you today is based off anything related to like theory. Everything that we're showing you today is simply based off what we teach to our clients inside of our coaching program. And so like one of the things we always want to like add a disclaimer sort of is like KMAC and I never presume to think that we know everything about the job search. We just go off of what has been working for our clients, and we'll tweak along the way. And for reference, everything we teach is specifically focused to landing 200K to 500K job offers in tech. And why tech is because that's really just the industry that we know. So if this does not, oh, and it's in the US. So everything that we teach is based on how to land these types of offers in the US. So if this hasn't worked internationally, it's because we don't know how to do it internationally. If it hasn't worked in healthcare, it's because we don't know healthcare. So hopefully you get the point. Yep. Cool. All right. You want to kick it off, K-Mac?
Yeah. And as we're going through, guys, as we just mentioned, we're already expecting this to take at least 2 parts. And before the end, if somebody could remind me in the comments to share the link to register for part 2, I will make sure we do that. So if you have questions, if there's anything that you want us to dive deeper on, we want to make sure we get to them either today or in a future part. So please go heavy on the questions in the comments, and we'll make sure if we don't get to them today, we answer them, circle back to them in another part. So with that, let's dive in. Okay, so when it comes to strategically approaching a layoff, other than giving yourself a minute to soak in the feels and hopefully find some funny Yoda jokes or something along the way, one of the things that we find, I don't think there's any client that we've worked with that has been an exception to this rule, maybe a couple. Most people, when they're going into a layoff or bracing for a layoff or coming out of a layoff, the word confidence is coming up in some form or fashion. And people are usually searching for some way to get their confidence back. Maybe, G, even if you wanted to talk, like one of the things we talk about with our clients all the time is confidence just comes from clarity oftentimes. And so our goal today is to give you guys clarity, not only on, what to do, but how to do it. But do you want to start off by talking about leading and lagging indicators, or save that for a little later?
Yeah, we can. And I want to kind of emphasize this, right? Like this is the part that's important because as Katie said, we do talk to a lot of job seekers every day. We talk to our own clients every day. And as she mentioned, people will always say, I'm not confident I can get it. And this is why she just mentioned it, because every time I ask somebody, like, do you know where confidence comes from? They can't answer it. And think about this is really true. Like when you look across your life, think about anything that used to be really hard for you, right? When you started doing that hard thing, you probably weren't confident either. But how did you end up getting confident? It's because you got clear on how to solve that problem. And I think this is the reason I think this is important is because when we tell ourselves, I'm not confident I can do it, it starts seeping into like our own self-belief. And it has nothing to actually do with belief. And it just has everything to do with like a map, right? Like how to get to where you want to go. And so this whole series that we're doing today and in the part 2 and going forward, it's getting you to really understand what to do, why to do it, and then how to do it well. And then it's just taking step-by-step action on doing it. And you'll see, well, that's where your confidence starts to increase. So it's not a matter of, I can't do it. It's just, you just don't know maybe how. And that's what we're doing today. So one of the things K-Mac just talked about, which is leading and lagging indicators, is I think what happens when we start the job search is we immediately go to thinking about, I just want to land this offer. I just want to land this offer. How am I going to land this offer? And so then everything that we do trying to get this offer, if we don't get it, it immediately impacts like how we feel and what we should do. And this is where people's thoughts, job seekers' thoughts, start to spiral into places that don't serve them or don't serve you. So a lot of times people will say, oh, okay, I got laid off. I was a director of product. I'm going to try to go for this like senior director of product role. Then they try to go for it and they don't get it. And then all these little cues start to sort of signal like, maybe I shouldn't go for it. Maybe I should go for something lower. Maybe I should not even go for product anymore. Maybe I'm not even that good of a product manager as I thought. It's like all these things that are not negative. And so if you think about it, lagging versus leading indicators is really key here. The lagging indicator is the outcome, which is the offer that you want. But it's also the thing you can't actually control. You can't control having a company give you an offer. So then what can we control? And this is what we call leading indicators. And leading indicators are the things you can do each day. And those are the things you can control. And when you think about that, when you're focusing on things you can control and you know what to do, why to do it, and how to do it correctly, the offer itself is like byproduct. It's the cherry on top. Like the beauty of going through this process is not that you're going to get an offer. It's that you're going to learn how to get an offer, and an offer that you want. And then if you think about that, if you learn how to do that in one of the hardest job markets there is, then you can keep doing it repeatedly. So we're focusing today on how do we control leading indicators and what those are that you can do each little day. Let me know if that makes sense or if I'm going like way above your head, because I know we're trying to cover a lot in a very short time. But K-Mac, does that kind of help? And do you want to?
No, I think that's perfect for like just keeping in mind. I think a lot of people, they rush into the job search completely tunnel vision on the offer. And then what happens is like you get all the thought spirals. So like if we were to start, I guess that's maybe the preface to what to do today if you are laid off. The first, like, if there's one thing that you take from this, it is not to go rush and put together a resume. Like that is arguably the worst thing that you can start off with. And so like step one is, quite frankly, like just catching a thought spiral. Just notice what thoughts you have. Should I take a lower level? Like, I need to update my resume right now. Should I apply to everything I see? Was this my fault? All of those things, like it's literally your brain just trying to protect you, and just taking a minute to like let those thoughts kind of come and go and slow down. Like the first goal here is to make sure you actually have energy in place. Like oftentimes with our clients, we'll recommend like take the next 2, 3, however many days off completely. And then when you come back, like no longer, like then we can address things like clarity, giving clarity on a full battery, for lack of a better word. Like that's where you're going to get the best decision-making skills. And I think just telling yourself, like instead of reacting to the situation at hand, giving yourself that permission to pause, that's something quite frankly, like you owe to your future self to recharge before you can try to rebuild. So I think that's arguably the most important thing. And so, yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, you read my mind. I was going to bring this up. Like the first 5 things to do aren't what most people would argue job search related. So I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah. And the battery point that you made is really important, because think of where we are mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically, once we find out we got laid off. And I've actually been there twice throughout my career. And I remember I did exactly what Katie just mentioned, which is like, all right, I got to put together a resume. I got to talk about everything I ever did. Let me try to apply to as many jobs as I can. Oh, holy shit, I just got rejected. Automated rejection emails. I should apply to more. And what we're doing is, once we get laid off, our emotional battery, our mental battery is already starting to get drained. And then once we start doing all these actions that don't really serve us, and then we get automated rejection emails, our battery starts going lower and lower. And think about any time you've ever operated on a low battery, emotional, physical, mental battery, you don't show up as your best self. It's very similar. I think we've talked about this before. It's like if you left your house today and you knew you were going to be gone all day, and your phone was on like 3%, how would you feel? And you had no access to a charger, right? You would feel anxious. You'd feel rushed. You wouldn't, right? And it's like, but if it was on 100% and then you were going to be gone all day, it's like, okay, cool. I'm not worried. And so the best way to not let yourself spiral and have your thoughts get the worst of you is to, like what Katie said, just take a step back. And some of the things we even tell our clients is the last thing you want to do immediately after getting laid off is just start putting together a resume and start doing all the things. And first, just get clarity and remind yourself of all the things that matter that have nothing to do with an offer, right? Because you, me, everyone, we are not our offer. We are not our salary. We are not the amount of interviews we get. That's not where our self-value comes from. So some of these things right here that we have on this list have what we've seen worked really well for people who have got laid off, even for our own clients. Any of these you want to kind of dive deeper into?
I think one of the most underrated, if you guys would just prove me wrong, would be my request. If you hear me say this and you're like, nah, I don't need to do that, prove me wrong. If you can find time, especially if you live in an area with nice weather or sunshine, if you can do that first step, go for a walk outside. Remind yourself of how far you've come on that walk. I think so many aspects of the job search get better or feel less sucky at the very least if we can find time in our day to do that. And I know it sounds so silly. It sounds so simple. It is so simple. And so it's like, even just asking yourself, like, if there really was one simple thing that I could do that would make everything else feel maybe a little bit nicer, like that would be a good investment of time. I don't need to I'll circle back on the other thing, but I think that's good. Like going through this list, I think if you're able to start there, you set yourself up for a much, much, much more fruitful job search.
Yeah. Yeah. Never mind. You're right.
Okay.
It's so easy to go all over the place, but we'll stay here.
Yeah. And actually, I just wanted to call out, I just noticed I'm looking over on the side here. Normally we can see your comments on our screen here. For some reason, our system's not actually showing them. So I just wanted to call out something, Frank, and it looks like there's a couple people who feel the same way. He said, I was confident when I started the job search, but as it grinds on, 40 plus organizations have told me I'm not good enough. Confidence equals believing they're all incorrect, ? That, I think, is a sentiment that a lot of people feel right now. And one of the things that we come back to and we'll speak to multiple times throughout this is there is a difference between being good at your job and being good at a job search. And the good part about that is, just like getting good at your job required you learning a new set of skills, building some new muscles that you didn't previously have, it's the same thing with the job search. And so my hope for today is that there's at least one thing that anybody who is feeling that similar sentiment, there's at least one thing that you pick up today that shows you how to approach or think about your job search, even if it's just a little bit different, to get some more people who are not telling you that you are not good enough, but people who are pushing you along the interview process, championing you along the interview process, making introductions, and giving you those little clues that you have a lot of talent. And it's just some job search skills that once those are refined, more and more people will see that talent. Okay, with that, we can dive in to next step. If you'd like, do you want to actually, we could even just use that slide that you had up and we can work through that in sequential order if that works for you.
Yeah. And real quick to Frank's point, I didn't even see that. So you're right. I didn't see that come in. Be careful with what you tell yourself. Yeah. Because I'm 99% sure nobody said you're not good enough. And I'm 99% sure what they said was, we're going with somebody who we feel is a better fit, right? They're going with somebody who we feel is a better fit. And I want to take a quick step back, because when you, just like anything new you're learning, right? If you decided, okay, I got laid off, I'm going to go, what should I be doing? And then you start Googling things, you start watching YouTube videos, you start researching whatever, you're going to find endless information, endless, right? But if you just really distill, simplify the job search there's really only two things. There's really only two problems you have to learn how to solve. Problem number one is I'm not getting enough interviews. And then problem number two is I'm getting interviews, but I'm not getting offers. And so problem number one, I'm not getting enough interviews, has nothing to actually do with you or like your abilities. And it has everything to do with how are you marketing yourself? And are you are you going for the right role? And then are you marketing yourself correctly for that role? Okay. And then problem number two, which is I'm getting interviews, I'm just not getting offers. Well, that means the good thing is you're marketing yourself really well on your LinkedIn profile, on your resume. You're probably targeting the right roles. Now this is, I'm not getting offers, but I'm getting interviews. That's all a sales issue. So what you're solving for is how do you articulate and demonstrate your value, your experience in a way that resonates with the people that are interviewing you. And there's a lot to that, but if you really distill it, it's not that you're not good enough. It's either you having a marketing issue, so you're not targeting the right role and then marketing yourself correctly for that role, or you're just not able to sell yourself for that role yet. So yeah, we can go into the next thing, but yeah, be careful with what you tell yourself, because again, it'll easily seep into your beliefs if you let it.
Yeah.
So here, I'll go back to this one.
The thing that I don't know if this is even the right time. Garb, you can cut me off if you think it's not a good time to share this. One of the things that I've noticed in my own life is there's been times where people have said something to me that previously in my life, I would have been crushed by them. Like the way I interpreted them. And I'll give you a real life example. Somebody who sent me a message. I don't think she meant to do this, but she made my day. She made my week. I've been seeing a lot more gray hairs on my head as of late, and I've been feeling very old. I feel like I've been aging very rapidly. And I got a message from somebody that if I had gotten it a couple years ago, it would have been devastating to me. And she just essentially told me that I was too young to ever give anybody any sort of advice. She said it a lot meaner than that. But when I got that message, same message that would have destroyed me a couple years ago, it was a message that made me feel so good that I wasn't actually as old as I'm put it into perspective. And it ended up being a boost. And there have been times, countless times, more legitimately more than I can count, where we've had folks come back to us, clients or just people on LinkedIn, who said, gosh, getting laid off was at the time the worst thing that I could have imagined happening. But now having the perspective that I do 1, 2, 5, 8 years later, it was the absolute greatest thing that could have happened to me, because without that, I never would have, and then insert whatever happened, built a relationship, took a chance, got an interview, built something happen that ended up dramatically changing just the trajectory of their life thanks to that moment. And I think some of those times, I'm sorry, I just saw the message of getting married will give you gray hairs. Sure will. So I think sometimes it's just, if you can give yourself that gift of fast forwarding and living in the future emotions that you'll feel about this moment, and we'll walk through some ways for you to do that. But if you can just have glimpses of that through your day and find some of the good in it, gosh, it's such a cool gift to be able to give yourself if you can do that. Okay, let's dive in. So next step here, or I should say, once you have taken that time to reset, to prioritize, and I know we spent a lot of time on that, you don't get to move on until you've done that. Like, we can tell with 100% certainty whether or not somebody has taken that space before they move on to the next steps. And it just so much easier, makes everything else better if you do take that time and then go to what I'll officially call maybe step 1 of the process. So that's step 0.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. So the first thing, if any of you have ever been to a workshop of ours or you've been following us for some time, you will know that something that we preach all day long, because it happens to be the most important thing, is something we call a career audit. And we can drop a link to like how you conduct an audit in a bit. But the first thing you want to do before you ever start your like putting together a resume, begin applying, is making sure that you are clear on the role that you should be targeting. What am I targeting? Why should I be targeting that? And does that speak to what I've been doing, what I'm good at, and does it move me forward? Would it be okay if I did the M&M?
Yeah, I think that'd be
Okay.
perfect.
So one thing we talk about a lot is something called your M&M store. And so here's like sort of the analogy. Imagine if all of you who are on this live right now lived in Los Angeles, California. And I said, I'm just going to use a name here. I said, Stephanie, I want you to drive from Los Angeles to New York, but you can't use any map, any GPS device. You can't have anybody in your car. You just have to figure it out. And let's assume for some strange reason that Stephanie actually had to listen to me, right? Well, here's what we know. Stephanie is smart enough to figure out the fact that she has to, if she just drives northeast long enough from LA, she will eventually get to New York. She knows that much. But what we don't know is Stephanie going to start off on the wrong freeway? Is she going to get turned around? Is she going to hit detours? Is she going to stop at places she has no business stopping at? How much energy is she going to waste? How much time, is she going to burn? All the things, right? We don't know any of that. We just know it's going to happen. But again, what we know is at some point she will get to New York. But where in New York she ends up, we don't know either, right? She might end up in Buffalo, and maybe she didn't ever want to be in Buffalo. She might end up in a really dangerous part where she might fear getting out of her car. But because it took her forever and a day, she's tired, she stinks, she wants to rest, she's going to get out of her car and then check into some hotel or Airbnb in Buffalo and just chill out for a minute, right? But instead, if I said, Stephanie, I want you to drive from LA to the M&M store in downtown Manhattan, and this time you can use any GPS device that you want. Well, now we know exactly what Stephanie's going to do, right? She's going to take out her phone, plug in GPS to, she's going to plug in M&M store in downtown Manhattan. And what is she going to get? She's going to get the fastest, most effective route to the M&M store. And not only is it the fastest, it's going to keep updating to even more efficient routes as she keeps driving. Now her journey won't feel like forever because she knows she's on the fastest path there. She knows where she's going. And then by the end of it, she also gets M&Ms. And who doesn't like M&Ms, right?
You can't trust somebody.
Now think about how that relates to yours or most people's careers. They go to this company and they're like, oh my God, I don't really like it. So they leave. Then they go to this company and they're like, oh shoot, I just got laid off. Then they go to this company, they're like, oh, this thing that they go, and they just keep going sideways, right? Or bouncing back and forth instead of going up. Why? Because they never took the time to figure out what their M&M store is. And so this is why we don't want to start with just the resume and start like blasting out applications and start reaching out to whoever, tell our friends and family, hey, keep an eye out for me, yada, yada. No. We want to take a step back and get really clear on what role we should be targeting. Does that role serve us? How does my background fit to that role? And then having clarity on like how we're going to get there. And I'll let you kind of talk a little bit more about the audit and how it kind of works and looks. But that's why we want to do this step first.
Yeah. Awesome. And I will share as we're going through this, we're not going to go, we've put out resources before. And as you can see on here, the resource that we would recommend here is the career audit. What we do with each of our clients to determine not only their M&M store, but the quickest path to get there is we do something called a career audit. So I'm going to just drop a link to that here so you guys have it. And I'm just going to quickly walk you through some of the steps that we'll take. Again, understanding that link that I just shared is going to go far more in depth. So the step one, the thing that most people don't do, is taking some time to look at what is it that you've actually enjoyed doing in your career. And if you're in a headspace where it's hard for you to even think about those, it's perfectly fine for you to start with like, hey, here are the things that I haven't enjoyed doing in my life. And then just write them down on a piece of paper. And on the other side of the piece of paper, just write the opposite of it. So like if you had a micromanager that you didn't like that they were micromanaging you, like the opposite of that would be somebody who gives you a whole lot of freedom. And just literally writing down the things. What are the things that you've enjoyed the most? And do it for each role that you've worked for the last, if you're more senior in your career and you've got more than 15 years of experience, usually you can just do it for the last 10 to 15 years of experience and just go line by line. What are the things that I've enjoyed doing? Now, the next thing is, what are the problems that I have solved in each of these roles? What are the things that I've solved, the problems that I've solved, and the impact that it has had in the business? And just taking inventory of everything that you've done. And again, as you're going through, you'll probably remember some things. And you're like, gosh, I remember, like, even if it was one of those hard things, like just the feeling you got at the end of it, it was awesome. Like when that person, like they were underperforming and they were about to get fired, and being able to sit down in the office with them, actually hear what they had going on in their life, them telling me their personal stuff and getting them on a plan so that they could actually not only succeed, but get promoted, turn into one of our greatest leaders. Like walk through memory lane of some of the highlights and the lowlights from each role and just write down what it is that you accomplished there. Look at the times that you were thriving. Look at the times you weren't thriving and ask yourself why. What are some of the patterns? What are some of the commonalities that you're seeing in both of those arenas? The stuff you love, the stuff you don't love so much, and just audit and take an inventory. That's going to be step one, to do that before you touch any aspect of your job search. And did I miss anything on that?
No, one thing that's really important to keep in mind is if you've been doing something, let's just say for 5 years, 3 years, 7 years, longer, whatever, there's a little trick you could use that we do with our clients, is like just looking at the level that's one above the one you just had. So I'll give you a quick example. Just the other day, I was talking to somebody who's been a director of program management. And when he and I got on a call, I was like, show me the type of roles you've been going after. And it's all technical program manager roles. And I said, why are you going for that? And he said, well, I don't really know what I should be going after. And I said, well, you've been a director of program management, right? He said, yeah. And I said, so what, maybe why not go for a senior director of program management? And he's like, well, I've never held that title. And I said, title has nothing to do with it. It's all about the scope of the work that you've touched and the impact that you've made. And it took literally 5 minutes for it to all click with him. So I just said, okay, cool. Let's just do something. Let's look at a couple of senior director of program management roles. Now, this guy's made 155 in his career. He's never made more than that. So like, think about what that happens every single day for the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years, however long he's been working. He's made 155 and he's never had a senior director role. So every single day it reinforces him, like, maybe this is the most I could ever make because that's all I've ever made. So when we just did, all we did was we looked at a few responsibilities from some of these senior director of program manager roles. And I just said, look, have you done this? Oh, yeah. Oh, remember when you just told me this? Is that very similar to that? Oh, yeah. Is it similar to this? Yeah. And all of a sudden it clicked. He didn't magically have confidence. He had clarity. His neurons connected in his brain. He was able to see, like, what I've been doing is very similar to what a senior director does. And so it's like, now he doesn't have to go off of a hope and a prayer because he knows he's qualified for a senior director of program management. Just because he's never made 155 has nothing to do with like his capability to earn it. It's just what his company paid him. So when you're doing this audit, one thing to keep in mind as after you go through like, what did I do? How did I do it? What problems did I solve? What did I help this company achieve? From that, if you start looking at job descriptions that are one level above, you will start to find most likely that you're already qualified for that position. Because if you've been doing something for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever, you've not stayed the same. I could promise you that. You've probably gained new skills, you've gained new responsibilities, you've solved new problems. So your value, your skill set is valued way more. It's just your company didn't ever give you that title, your that salary. Yeah. So like that's part of what we do in this audit to help them get clear on their M&M store.
Yeah. And I know, guys, apologies. There is something up with the comments where they're coming in so delayed on our end. But I do think like this is one of the byproducts of doing the audit too. Taking time to reflect and write down your accomplishments over the past decade gives a real sense of progress, an eye-opener to see how many different business problems you've tackled, an invaluable step in shaping and owning your story. I can't see who said this, but like, yeah, just taking that stroll down memory lane and reminding yourself. And this goes back to the person earlier, I think it was Frank, who was feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough. It's like, it's really easy to retell yourself that story. It's not as easy to retell yourself that story if you're taking those strolls through memory lane and finding those things that demonstrate not only, most importantly, demonstrate to you that you are good enough, that you have done these things and you've done them well. That's just whoever shared that. Thank you.
Yeah. And again, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. This was just a cool thing too. If I hadn't gotten laid off, that's awesome. Congrats.
That is awesome. Jean says, I struggle with title. A lot of people do. Keep this in mind. Very little to do with title because certain companies can call can position something differently, right? Like some companies will say head of this, director of that, right? Whatever. It's not about title so much as it is about the scope of the responsibility and then the comp that comes with that.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're only searching based off title, it can be confusing. But if you're searching based off scope of responsibility, what are you touching? What do they need? What problems are you solving? Does that align with the problems you solve? Title becomes relatively irrelevant because you're going for that should be the indicator of like that you're going for the right thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a
should we
role,
keep going? Or?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize it's one role, not one title. Its role is tied towards all the things you just shared, responsibility, scope of work, all of that. And titles may have a little bit of variance.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. And this one, should we drop that? I'll remind you, K-Mac, because we're also already running up on time.
Oh, dang. Yeah. Let me share real quick for anybody. Well, you'll have the replay of this. Let me just share real quick the link for next week too, for anybody who's live and wants to just, if this is helpful. And also please let us know in the comments if this is or isn't helpful so we can make it helpful. And I will share the link to next week's part 2 of this in just a second if you want to keep going.
Yeah. So the next thing that we're talking about is, think of it like this, right? Now that you know, you've kind of done an audit of your experience and the problems you've solved, how you've solved them, and you got clear on the role you should be targeting, not the title, the role. Now it can be time to write your resume and your LinkedIn profile. And I want you to think of something before we get into that. Your resume and your LinkedIn profile, and we would argue that in today's market, your LinkedIn profile is either equally, if not more important than your resume. And the better way to think about this is your LinkedIn profile and your resume, at the end of the day, they are nothing more than a digital advertisement of your skills and your capabilities. Would you guys agree? Your resume, your LinkedIn profile is nothing more than a digital advertisement of your skills and your capabilities. And so if you do agree with that, then the next question you should be asking yourself is, well, then what makes good advertising? And the answer to that is copywriting. That's marketing 101, right? Copywriting is the words that go into that ad. And then if you agree with that, then the next logical question is, well, then what makes good copywriting? And the answer to that is, number one, am I clear on who my target audience is? So for you, that means, am I clear on the role I'm going after, which you should be after you've done a proper audit? Then number two, am I clear on what they need in that role, meaning like what problems, responsibilities, initiatives I would be leading, solving, etc. And then lastly, can I clearly and concisely articulate that I've solved those problems in the past? Which is why the audit solves for all of that. And so once you have all of that information, then writing the resume and the LinkedIn profile gets simpler. And I'll let K-Mac quickly talk about this. I'm going to pull a resource deal real quick because the number one thing most people overthink is their resume. And we already created a lot of pre-written resume templates. So I'm going to pull that and drop that in the comments here.
Yeah, absolutely. So and we'll end on this actually and pick up tomorrow or pick up next week with the rest of the parts. When it comes to your resume, as Gaurav just said, you've already done a lot of the work. If you've done the audit and you've already started researching these next roles that you're targeting, your resume doesn't start with you. It actually starts with studying these job descriptions and talking about your experience through the lens of what these job descriptions are asking for. So in the top part is going to be a summary. And again, you'll get a visual representation of all of this in the resource that Gaurav is sharing right now. And there's a video link on that page to take you through an in-depth video if you're like me. And actually, I think you're this way too. I prefer a video along with the text to walk me through how to do it. You're getting that in the resource section listed below. You're going to start with a summary that highlights relevant strengths and experience and uses data. So you wouldn't say dynamic program manager, who's the bee's knees. You would say, program manager with 15 plus years of experience, leading complex programs with $2 million to $10 million plus budgets for Fortune 500 companies across, health tech, fintech sectors, very specific, the information that a recruiter and a hiring manager is going to care about. Next, after that summary, just a 1 or 2 paragraph summary, we're talking like 3 to 4 lines per paragraph. These are not lengthy paragraphs. After that, if you've got more than 10 years of experience, you'll likely want to include a career highlight section. What are the quantifiable accomplishments, either a highlight from a specific job or an aggregate number of what you've been able to accomplish in your career? So if you're a program manager and you've delivered 96% of programs ahead of schedule and under budget, that would be a great place for you to emphasize that in that career highlight section. If you've helped 10 plus people get, promoted to a senior leadership position, that would be a great place to add that in there. If you saved, $4 billion for, your startup. I was kidding. I was thinking of Austin Powers. But like whatever it is that you've done that's impressive, you want to put that in 4 to 7 bullet points in a career highlight section. And then from there, you go into your selected experience. This is where you're talking about the responsibilities. What were your responsibilities for each role? Again, no fluff. And then a separate section, what were your quantifiable accomplishments for each role? How did you move the needle for the company, for the department, for the team, for individuals, whatever the case may be? And making sure everything that you're speaking about is relevant to the next role that you're targeting. It's not everything you've ever done. It's the things that you've done that are relevant to this next role that you're targeting. And then simple, just some logistic things. You don't need graphs. You don't need tables. These should be ugly, text-only resumes. If you are less than 5 years, you only need 1 page. If you are less than 10 years, you get 2 pages. Almost everybody can actually fit relevant things on 2 pages. But if you've got more than 15 years of experience, you can sneak onto a 3rd page if you must. Again, most people don't need 3 pages, but if you're just a real wordy fella, you can do it. Or whatever the girl version of fella is.
We've had clients who are going for like VP of product management roles, and they've been working for like more than 15 years. and their resume had been 3 pages, and it was totally fine. No one ever questioned it. No one even was bothered by it. And for those of you who are asking, this visual that you're seeing, if you want that, it's right here. And the cool thing is, if you click on that, and then
Did
you go
just
in.
share a link?
What?
When you said it's right here, did you just share a link?
Yeah. I just
Oh, okay. I didn't see a link pop up. We'll make sure that you guys have the link. I thought you were just saying it's right here on the screen. Like you can see it.
This visual is that we're using right now. I just dropped the link to that in the comments here. One thing I'll want to emphasize is it'll break down this entire strategy that we're talking about. And then if you click on the comment section or go to the comment section, it'll show you every resource that's associated to each step. So there's plenty of resources there. It'll, again, you don't have to, don't get so overwhelmed by all of it. Each resource, again, is accompanied by the step you're focusing on. So you just have to follow them step by step.
Cool. Yes.
Yeah.
And we will pick up where we left off with step 3 next week.
Sounds good. And you put the link to part 2 so you guys can find that here. It's this one. She dropped it a few minutes ago. So if you want to do that, we'll pick it up next week and we'll try to get through the strategy then. And if not, we'll do a deeper dive even the week following that.
Awesome. All right, guys. Talk soon.
All right. Bye, everyone. Take care.